Quick backstory for those who aren't aware of my situation. My ex-wife cheated on me. She craves attention and always needs somebody to talk to. I don't mind giving attention, but it's not something I necessarily need, and I don't mind going a few days without seeing or talking to anybody. The other guy knew she was married and pursued her by love bombing her with letters and gifts, texting her periodically, telling her he misses her, calling late at night, and calling again when she ignores it. He even got her name tattooed on himself. I am reflecting on everything that has happened to me in the last few months, and I can't help but think of everything she has said to me during this time. We met one night to have a discussion, and she started off the conversation with, "If at any time I don't like what you say, I will get up and leave." The next words out of her mouth were, "I am sorry that I cheated on you, but I did it for a reason." And then she proceeded to tell me everything I did wrong during and after our relationship, while I couldn't defend myself. She also proceeded to blame me for her insecurities. When she first told me she wanted to separate, I told her that she tends to make decisions based on emotion instead of logic, and that she needs to make sure she is actually making a logical decision here. This was before I found out she was seeing somebody else. When she decided on divorce, she told me that she feels like she is finally making a logical decision and that she needs to listen to her heart. What kind of logical decision is that? I first encountered the other guy when I found the letters. I told her that the moment he showed any interest, she should have shut it down. If he had sent letters anyway, she should have cut communication. She told me that the letters should have been an indication of how bad our marriage had become. When I found them, all I did was tell her it needs to stop, and that was it. I didn't step up and do anything to make her want to stop engaging with him. I don't have any tattoos. When we were together, I always talked about getting one, and she said, "If you're going to get a tattoo, it's either going to symbolize us, or it's my name." I don't care how long I've been with my partner. I will not get her name tattooed on me. Well, the other guy did it after knowing her for roughly a year, and it's very evident that she is impressed. She says to me, "He actually did it because he cares about me." Something you refused to do throughout the course of our relationship. When I told her that this is a red flag, and if something were to happen between them, this is going to be on him for the rest of his life, so she better watch out. Her response was, "For somebody who cares so much about women's rights, you sure have a problem with what somebody else does with their body." I couldn't believe that and had to walk away. I also told her the constant phone calls and texts were red flags as well, and her response was, "God forbid he pays attention to me." I told her that it's one thing if she got into another relationship after we break up, but she is literally going into a relationship with somebody knowing that she is married, and I asked how she doesn't realize what a POS that is. Her response to that was, "Well, he knows I don't want to be with you." I personally don't care what she told him. Any decent human being should know that married women are off limits until after they are separated or divorced. He did not respect that boundary and continued to pursue her. I try not to talk to her, but whenever I do, there's a certain level of respect I try to maintain with her. She doesn't know about my relationship status, who I'm seeing, who I'm talking to, etc. She is incapable of this, and it seems like all she does is want to talk about him and her new relationship. One day she asked me what my plans were for the weekend. I don't remember what I said, but I don't think it was anything big. She said that his favorite team is in town, so she's going to take him to a hockey game. I decided, screw this, and finally revealed that a girl I was seeing at the time is trying to get into sports as well, and I plan on taking her to some games. Her response was, "Good for you for finally revealing that you're seeing somebody. Doesn't it feel good to finally be honest? Please don't treat her like you treated me, or else she'll leave you like I did. I hope you learned from your relationship with me. I learned to never settle and to know what I deserve. I deserve to be loved and to be loved deeply." We stopped talking for a good while after that. We met again to have another discussion, and I asked her how she could do what she did. She said that she is sorry for what she did and that she didn't intend to hurt me. She questioned why she continued to give energy and effort towards her husband that wouldn't reciprocate it back to her when there was a guy who was literally paying attention right at her. In the end, she just wanted to be happy. If you ask me, this is extremely selfish. Not only was she so desperate for happiness that she was willing to do whatever it took and didn't care who she hurt in the process, but she craved attention so much that she was willing to give up her marriage for somebody who was bombing her with it. We were talking about our future plans. She said that she wants to start a business where she buys property and flips houses. The other guy is a director of a real estate company and understands construction, so it's coming together that she plans on using him to get her foot in the door. I then asked, "Don't you need startup capital?" She says, "Yes, he has money and investments that I can use." She is literally admitting to mooching off him. This is personally not something I'd be proud to admit. He has 2 teenage kids, too, that I'm sure he'd rather put that money towards. There's no way I'm the only one who thinks that all of these statements are delusional, right? I can't believe that these are words coming from a 35-year-old woman. It was during this period that fate seemed to take an ironic turn, as she became more entangled in her ambitious project of flipping houses, funded by her new partner, the director of a real estate company. I was silently making my own strides. I had invested in a rival real estate firm, learning the ropes and growing independently, without fanfare or the need for constant validation. Then her world began to crumble. Her partner came under investigation for fraud. His assets were frozen, and suddenly, the financial backbone of her business venture vanished. As her projects faltered, my firm, unbeknownst to her, was on the rise. We saw an opportunity and bought out her troubled properties at a substantially lower value. It was a purely business decision, but the irony wasn't lost on me. There she was, the woman who had criticized me for not being enough, now struggling because of her dependency on someone else. And here I was, the man she left, finding success through my own merits. I hadn't planned this as revenge. Life just unfolded this way. But in that moment, I realized the stark contrast between our paths. She sought happiness through others, manipulating and using, whereas I found it in my own growth and integrity. Her downfall wasn't something I wished for, but it served as a harsh reminder of the consequences of one's actions. As for me, I had moved on, learned from my past, and was building a life where respect, honesty, and self-reliance were the foundations. It was a hard-earned lesson, one that came out of the deepest pain, but in the end, it led me to a place of peace and genuine success. Story 2. Hi all. My wife cheated on me with her first boyfriend 11 years ago in 2011. We had been married for almost 5 years when it happened. We were having a bad time before it happened. I used to work for a company where I had to sleep away from home 6 out of 10 nights. That year, we started fighting more and more for many reasons. One particular reason is that I was carrying all the load of home expenses, whereas she was only helping with our then 4-year-old daughter's school fees. That created a lot of resentment in me, as I never agreed with that setup. She was overspending her money on clothing and other stuff and not helping me much. We married relatively young at 26. Most of her friends were still single, and she was hanging around more and more with them. We used to have a nanny and a maid so that she did not have many chores to do at home. We used to talk over the phone quite often, 3 times a day, but we stopped doing it as we started drifting apart. We were friends with her ex and his wife. Not close, but we had been at their place a few times, and honestly, I did not feel any threat from him. I regret that a lot as I was not jealous. Even when I saw she had him in her contacts list, it never crossed my mind that she was capable of cheating on me. She used her phone quite a lot, many times ignoring me on purpose, and I just hated it. One night, we again fought badly, and I went to sleep in a hotel. She was very resentful after this. Then everything started going from bad to worse. No sex, it was already scarce, and no real conversations. One night, we hosted a party with some friends, and she left her phone in the kitchen. I went to drink some water, and the phone started ringing. It was 11 p.m., so a bit late for a phone call. I checked the name, and it was a friend that I never heard of. I did not answer the call, but instead confronted her. She said it was an old friend from school, and that she did not know the reason for the call. I called back, but never got an answer. Feeling that something was wrong, I followed my gut and bugged her phone. I will always regret what happened after that. For some reason, I did not check the details of her movements for days. There was even one Saturday that she had to go to work, as usual, but this time she was dressing up quite hotter than normal with heels and perfume. I asked her who she was going to meet with a sad/concerned face. She noticed my distrust and told me, "Don't be silly, I love you." I believed her. I actually thought about following her and did not do it for some reason. Even worse, I did not check her movements shortly after that. Anyway, one night, 10 days later, I was at my work accommodation when she called me and told me she was going to meet a community leader so she could not take phone calls. That was weird to me, so the next day I logged into my computer and finally checked her location. She was in a hotel for 1 hour instead of the community leader's place. That was when I started reviewing all the data that the phone had captured. Although I could not check the content of text messages, I still could see the dates and times of the conversations and SMS exchanges. It was pretty obvious something was going on, as these were very late. I called her and confronted her, and after some evasion, she finally confessed. Then I called her lover and told him I knew everything. The guy denied it all, such a coward. I was feeling really bad and depressed that day when suddenly I got an email from this guy's wife. It seems someone who knew both my wife and him actually saw them when she got into his car and followed them to the hotel. Then they sent an anonymous email to the wife, and she then sent it to me. So the issue was now public knowledge. Quite bad in my small town. My wife begged me to meet her that same night. I declined at the beginning but ended up yielding to her request. I asked for permission at work to leave the site. We met and talked. Probably the worst night of my life by far. She was begging me for forgiveness. I was simply asking why and how she had the courage to do what she did. I had never been in such a shocking state and also have never seen her as she was that night, crying, begging, and unsure why she did what she did. I was mad that she had the decision in her hands and then she was giving me the role of deciding about the relationship's future after what she had done. She said they met that Monday as she wanted to finish things with him. She could not have sex that night since she just had an IUD procedure and she was bleeding and in pain. Still, I was simply in shock and could not understand many things, let alone believe what she was telling me. I had to return to work the next morning. I was in the middle of my roster away from home and could not get out of the camp anymore. I decided to call her lover again and confronted him. I told him I was not going to make a scandal nor call his wife, provided he confessed the details of the affair. I guess I still wanted to protect my family and leave everything as a rumor. He agreed. He told me some similarities to what my wife told me, such as the duration of the affair, 2 months, the number of times they had sex, 3, and what happened the last time they met. I still caught some lies from my wife, which was devastating. The guy had the guts to tell me that my wife loved me, but she was very lonely and vulnerable, and he just took advantage of that. What a piece of #tea, as I later knew his wife was heavily pregnant. I asked him to leave my wife alone and to sort the mess with his wife. He told me he had denied everything, so she was still unsure of the affair. Anyway, I kept searching the data from my wife's phone and noticed she was with her lover that Saturday when I asked her why she was getting so pretty. She denied it at the beginning, but then accepted it. That finished breaking my heart. I was desolate. She continued begging for forgiveness, however. I told her I was going to think about it. I traveled to another city to my mother's place with my daughter to think about what I wanted to do. My parents were divorced, hence I grew up without my father. I did not know until recently, when I had therapy, but it seems this situation really affected me, causing me to be afraid to be alone, emotional attachment issues. Back in the day, I was thinking mainly about my daughter. I did not want her to grow up without me. I loved my wife. I knew we were in a real bad spell when all this happened, and she seemed really regretful. She actually contacted her aunt, the closest relative she had, to mediate between us. She was embarrassed as her aunt is very religious. Anyway, I thought about my decision for about a week, with my broken heart, about what I wanted to do. It was such a horrible time. I finally decided to work things out, but under many conditions. My wife accepted, and the next 6 months really showed how challenging this situation is. I was basically not trusting anything about her, judging her, insulting her, and attempted to leave her a few times. Then there was one day that she basically had too much and did not stop me. She said that she could not continue like this. As much as she tried to remediate things, it was going to be impossible for her to amend things. She indeed was acting the best she possibly could, and I was simply humiliating her at every single opportunity. After that day, I stopped being in a hole. 11 years later, and many things have occurred. We now live in a different country, have a second child, and shared lots of beautiful moments. However, our relationship has many ups and downs. We also fight badly quite often, not physically, and lately, I started feeling depressed because of her affair 11 years ago, not sure why. Unfortunately, I can't see her as the pure person I would like to, and I know I am not giving 100% in the relationship due to my constant resentment. I love her, but many times I wonder if it was the right decision to continue our marriage. Many times I get back in time and think about the things I should have said or done. I feel disappointed with myself for not being harsher or brave enough to finish it. It boils my blood to think I did not have revenge against her lover or even tell his wife. It is driving me crazy. We still have amazing sex when we are okay, but I can't stop making images of when she was with him. 11 years and it still hurts a lot. It is hard to accept it and let it go. Thank you all for taking the time to listen to today's stories. If you enjoyed listening, please feel free to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Also, comment below with your thoughts on what happened. If there is a story you would like to share with me about your own situation or someone else's, then please do not hesitate to contact me. Take care.